Hey guys, and welcome to today's video, which is May's wrap-up video. Can you believe that we are already in May? I feel like this year has absolutely flown by. Anyway, in the wrap-ups, as we always do, we're going to talk about the films and TV shows that I've watched and the books that I've read. A little bit of a shameless plug here, we used to talk about video games that I've played, but I have a channel, Ember Games, where I talk about video games, so that's why this segment is not in this video. So let's go ahead and talk about all of the films I watched in May. I watched a film! So if you watch these wrap-ups, you'll note that I don't watch as many films as I perhaps should, but I actually watched a film this month, and that was Matilda, the Mara Wilson version, the sort of original Matilda film, not the Matilda the musical film. What a mouthful. I haven't actually seen that, but I went on a bit of a nostalgia binge and I watched Matilda. And a spoiler alert for the books coming up, I also read Matilda as well. So I'm going to leave all my thoughts, because they're quite controversial, to the books section. But I did watch Matilda. And that was the only kind of film that I watched this month, but I thought I'd include these two here because they don't really have a category. I watched The Coronation on TV, of course, so I'm not going to get into the politics of everything. I know there's been a huge discourse on Twitter. I am a historian, I studied medieval history for my masters. I'm a huge Tudor buff, and I'm a huge sort of royalty buff in terms of historically looking at royals. So I had to watch The Coronation. It's the only coronation that I have, of course, seen live on television. So I watched it for historical purposes, to do analysis on what old coronation traditions are still in play in the new coronation and things like that. So I didn't watch it for the sort of politics of it, I watched it purely for history. And it might be, we don't know, the only coronation I'll ever get to see. So for sort of posterity, I watched The Coronation. Also, again, a little bit political, a little bit not. Of course I watched Eurovision. I am a huge Eurovision fan. Yes, it's cheese, but I absolutely love Eurovision. And it was held here in the UK this year. So I didn't get to go and see Eurovision live. The year happens to be the year I'm getting married, so I couldn't afford to go to Eurovision, but if I could have afforded it, I would have gone 100%. I watched it on the TV, and yeah, I really, really like Eurovision. Not too much to say about it, but I enjoy it. So we'll move on to the TV shows. I finished The Crown this month. Oh my gosh, what a journey that has been. Again, like I say, huge fan of history. I know The Crown is not exactly accurate, historically accurate, but I do enjoy it all the same. Cannot wait for the last season. I'm kind of sad it's the last season, but very understandable. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed The Crown. Princess Margaret is my new special interest. I'm absorbing everything about Princess Margaret. But yeah, loved The Crown. And then kind of going on historical again, the second TV show I started and finished this month was Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story, and I absolutely loved it. I cried my eyes out at Queen Charlotte. So I like Bridgerton. I wouldn't say I'm a massive, massive fan of Bridgerton, but I like it. But Queen Charlotte, what a phenomenal job, what a phenomenal show that really hit different. And I love, 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 as a historian, the disclaimer at the beginning that said this is not fact about the real Queen Charlotte, this is fiction, and I absolutely loved that, because I wish more historical shows based in history would have this disclaimer at the front. But it's encouraged people, from what I've seen on Twitter and everything else, to look at the real Queen Charlotte and the real King George III, and anything that does that is, amazing. But the end scene in Queen Charlotte, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but I cried and cried and cried, and it stayed with me for days. In fact, it's probably still with me, that scene, and if I think about it too much, I will cry. But I absolutely loved Queen Charlotte. And of course, the same with Bridgerton, the running theme of the modern music with a classical twist. I love that. I absolutely love it. And some shows, it doesn't work. I spoke about the Anne Boleyn show last month, Blood, Sex and Royalty. It didn't work for me. But the music, how it's done in Bridgerton, did work for me. So it shows that you can do it well, and it does work. So that's it for TV shows, just the two. I haven't started anything new yet, but we are contemplating a few shows to start, which I won't spoil for next month, obviously. So we're on to books. So I read 4 books this month. I read 3 books this month, I'm reading one. First up, I spoke about this last month. I finished Elizabeth and Margaret by Andrew Morton. I absolutely love it. I've spoke about this in previous wrap-ups, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it is of course about the former Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. The former Princess Margaret, I should say. It's quite sad that they both passed away. But yes, absolutely loved this book. It's an insight of their relationship from the very beginning to, well, the end for Princess Margaret. So yeah, really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. And then moving on, the second book that I read this month, again, I was on a bit of a nostalgia trip this month, The Host by Stephanie Meyer. So you might recognise her as the author of the Twilight books. Love them or hate them, that's an opinion. I love The Host, personally. I love this, and I love the movie. Are they fantastic? No, they're not fantastic books, and it's not a fantastic film. But I love them, personally, you know, nostalgia, I really, really like them. So The Host, how do I explain The Host? I will read you a little bit of the back, just in case you don't know the book. Melanie Strider refuses to fade away. The Earth has been invaded by a species that takes over the minds of their human hosts, and most of humanity has succumbed. Wanderer, the invading soul, who has been given Melanie's body, knew about the challenges of living inside a human, the overwhelming emotions, absolutely, the too vivid memories, but she did not expect that Melanie would refuse to relinquish possession of her mind. Melanie fills Wanderer's thoughts with visions of the man she loves, Jared, a human who still lives in hiding. Unable to separate herself from her body's desires, Wanderer yearns for a man she's never met. As outside forces make Wanderer and Melanie unwilling allies, they set off to search for the man they both love. And I absolutely love it myself. So yes, if you're into sort of sci-fi, aliens, romance even, I would give this one a go. It is of course a YA novel, but I love YA, so good for me. And the final book that I have to show you, actually I won't talk about this yet, I will talk about the third book, which is Matilda. I said I'd read Matilda as well. I haven't got it here to show you because it has gone to the charity shop, my copy of Matilda by Roald Dahl. It actually went to the charity shop today, just before I'm filming this. Here's my controversial take and opinion of the video. When I was a child, I absolutely loved Matilda. In fact, I loved Roald Dahl's books. Growing up, I love reading, as is probably evident. I've always loved to read, and I've always felt a little bit of an outsider. I kind of always have, still do. So when I was a kid, I would rather sit and read during lunch in school, for example, than go out and play. And I was encouraged to go out and play more because all I wanted to do was read. So a little story is, the school, my infant school, actually rang my dad and told him to stop me reading because I'd read everything in the children's section in my infant school library. And yeah, my dad was not very happy with that at all, as you can imagine. But yeah, I really, the reason I'm saying this is because I really resonated with the character of Matilda as a child. And, you know, she had powers, and what young kid doesn't want powers, you know? I'm an adult and I'd love those powers still. However, this is my controversial take. Reading Matilda as an adult, I don't think it's as good as I thought it was. I think there are definitely rose-tinted glasses with that. And I think that makes sense because it is a book written for children. So I think it makes sense that as an adult, I'm not as much of a fan of it. And reading the book, obviously it was quite quick and easy to read, you know, for me, not many pages. I thought, I really want to watch the film because I remember the film being absolutely amazing and I loved it. And again, the film is good. The behind the scenes of the film is more interesting and heartbreaking, actually, if you know. But again, I don't think the film is as good as I remembered. And I know that's a controversial opinion because I really wanted to love it as an adult. But sometimes your views and your opinions do shift. And I think for me, I just don't think that I will go back to Matilda again. Don't get me wrong, fantastic book for kids. I absolutely encourage children to read it. But as an adult, it just didn't hit the same. And I know, again, it's a children's book, so it probably won't. But as you can see with Harry Potter and everything else, a lot of children's books, I don't class Harry Potter as a children's book, but a lot of books that were written for a younger audience, like I say, young adult, like The Host, I still do love them. This one, I just didn't love as much. So that's my sort of controversial opinion and rant for the video. Let me know your thoughts on that. So we're on to the last book, and I cannot talk about it too much because I've only just started it, and it is Femina by Janina, I hope I say this right, Ramirez. A new history of the Middle Ages through the women written out of it. So I showed this in a haul earlier this year. I think I bought this year, possibly in January. And it's absolutely incredible so far. I haven't got that far into it. Can you see my bookmark? Not really, it's just here, so I've not got too far, I've got all of this to go. But I will just read you the blurb for this very, very quickly. I absolutely love it. The Middle Ages is seen as a bloodthirsty time of Vikings, saints and kings, a patriarchal society which oppressed and excluded women. But when we dig a little deeper into the truth, we can see that the Dark Ages were anything but true, and I wish more people knew this. Oxford and BBC historian Janina Ramirez has uncovered countless women's names struck out of historical records with the word femina annotated beside them. As gatekeepers of the past ordered books to be burnt, artworks to be destroyed, and new versions of myths, legends, and documents to be produced, our view of history has been manipulated. Only now, through careful examination of the artefacts, writings, and possessions they left behind, are the influential and multifaceted lives of women emerging. Femina goes beyond the official records to uncover the true impact of women like Jadwiga, I hope I've said that right, the only female king in Europe, Marjorie Kemp, fascinating woman, who exploited her image and story to ensure her notoriety, and the Loftus princess, whose existence gives us clues about the beginnings of Christianity in England. Discover how these remarkable women were erased from our collective memories and see the medieval world with fresh eyes. So as you can tell, right up my street. Like I said, I did medieval history for my master's, and what an important book. History is constantly changing, constantly shifting. That's why a historian's work is never done. And this book, honestly, if you want to know more about medieval women, get this, because it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I said this was going to be a short one, but I ended up rambling quite a bit. That is everything that I watched and read in May. So yeah, not too much actually, not a lot. I feel like I could have read more, but life gets in the way, and it will do for the next few months, because obviously, like I say, I'm getting married this month, not this month, oh, I hope not. I am getting married this year. So yes, things have obviously took a backseat to that. But thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this kind of thing. And before you go, pop in the comments one thing, book, TV show, film, whatever you want that you have been enjoying this month. So I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.